Guys, we got so much to talk about. Partnership with BYD, partnership with Huawei, partnership with Chery. What? We're going to talk all about that. But first, here is the video, teaser video from NIO about the ET9. Have a good look at it. Man, I know it's just a wheel, but I mean, just from the whole entire feel of it, this feels very premium. So before we talk about the partnerships, Dr. Shen Fei, which is the head of NIO Power and NIO's Power Swap ecosystem, he actually went on stage quite recently and gave a lecture to talk about battery swap partnership. And he talked about how this partnership is going to work out, which is very, very interesting. And it's kind of different from what the CEO said. And I have a feeling that this is much more in-depth because during earnings report, the CEO just said that they were going to provide the partners with the Alps battery pack and they can build their cars around that. All right, so that's pretty cool. But what the doctor said is very interesting. He said that there's actually 3 stages to this whole process. The first stage is to provide actually the design of the NIO battery pack to partners that want a low barrier to entry and that can quickly access NIO's network of 2,000 plus swap stations. So they're actually looking to partner and use that as the first avenue of partnership. All right, and he said that it's only going to cost them maybe like a couple hundred million RMB in terms of R&D, and they can modify their existing EVs to basically support the battery swap mechanism and NIO's battery pack, and they'll be able to swap at NIO's 3rd gen and 4th gen swap stations. 4th gen is going to be announced tomorrow at NIO Day, so that's very, very cool. And then he said was the first stage of the partnership. And then second stage of partnership, he said, is going to be them and also a couple of good partners, and they will develop 1 or 2 battery packs together jointly and then use that in a wide ecosystem. And he said the best example of what that's going to look like is if you look at gas stations right now, trucks, race cars, sports cars, and SUVs, you all go into the gas station, but you go to different areas, right? You got 93 gas, 97 gas, you got diesel. So you go to the different areas, and it's going to be the same for NIO. Essentially, you go to different bay areas for different, basically different batteries. All right, there's going to be 93 battery, 97 battery, diesel battery. That's his a quick way of making an analogy of what it's going to look like. So that's stage 2, having 1 or 2 battery packs. And then stage 3, he said, is the ultimate standardization, where once battery technology matures and the partnership has worked really well, they're all going to jointly cooperate and make 1 battery that's suitable for everyone, that everyone put their effort into making this battery, and that is going to be the battery pack that everyone can use, and that's going to be the huge public network, and that's basically the goal of getting to standardized battery swap. So this is very interesting. So this really outlines a much bigger approach and much deeper strategy than just giving 1 battery pack to the partners and letting them make the cars. So this is very nice. So what about the partnerships, the BYD, HUAWEI, and Chery? So apparently NIO's CEO went to this conference that was hosted by Anhui Province, because Anhui Province, they really like NIO, and also it's the home of several other big auto manufacturers. Apparently they hosted this conference or meeting to promote partnerships and cooperation between them all together. And NIO CEO actually directly mentioned their names. All right, the CEO of BYD, the CEO of HUAWEI, the CEO of Chery. So they all met over there, and he didn't really say that they're going to partner up, but he said that the province, Anhui Province, is pushing forward for more cooperation between these brands. Okay, so and NIO CEO said he's very optimistic about the future cooperation between them. So this, to me, sounds like there's probably something going on between all of these companies. I personally think that BYD could very possibly partner up with NIO because BYD doesn't have any infrastructure. It just makes total sense for them to do it. And that would actually make BYD sell even more cars. And investors shouldn't really worry because then every car that BYD sells that has battery swap, NIO gets a little bit of profit from it. So it's a win-win situation for both parties. And I'm very glad that NIO CEO is talking to BYD CEO about this. It makes sense. And the CEO said importantly that the future of what this brings has deep meaning for him personally. So this is very, very good. All very optimistic talk, all right? And also we got, not only that, but we also got the Ministry of Information Industry Technology, them coming out, and they had a conference, a big meeting, and they outlined a couple things that they want to push forward for next year. And one of them was the promotion of battery swap and standardization in 2024. So they're going to start promoting battery swap, pushing forward, and that just shows that the government is very on board with battery swap and battery swap standardization, essentially. So this is all very, very good. Now, the CEO did say quite recently that in terms of the partners that they did sign, Geely, Chang'an, they have not had any difficulties with developing and doing R&D on vehicles that support battery swap. And for them, it's been pretty straightforward. NIO giving them a battery pack design and essentially them building the car around it. Very, very simple, very nice. Now, some of you guys, investors, have said that you guys are worried that NIO's competitive advantage is now gone. And people will, in the future, buy a Zeekr car that can do battery swap instead of buying a NIO. And that's a very valid point. I mean, this is NIO's big moat, and essentially they're giving it away. How is that going to ensure that NIOs are going to sell well? Well, you got to think about it this way. It's not only a battery swap, but also the battery sizes that it supports and the flexibility between them. All right, and also the number of swap stations, because right off the bat, NIO said they're committed to continuing the layout of more NIO swap stations. So these are going to be mostly NIO exclusive, but with 3rd gen and 4th gen swap stations capable of doing swap for other brands as well. I think what we're going to see is that NIO will always have the definitive lead in terms of their own swap stations and have the most amount of swap stations themselves, whereas for these other partnerships, they will also gradually build swap stations together, but the pace will probably never really catch up to NIO's amount. So those partners that can do swaps, sure, you can buy those cars, you can do swap, but if you buy a NIO, you have access to much more swap stations, and also you have the ability to upgrade and downgrade if you want your battery pack. Also, I think the investment thesis has really changed quite a bit, because it's no longer just about selling cars, because you're only going to sell so many cars. But whereas if you earn money from every car sold, albeit maybe just a little bit, then that's going to be much more impactful than selling a couple of cars. So if you look at it that way, in the future, you're going to earn money from every car being sold that does support battery swap. And then also, you're going to earn money every time they do a swap and every time a swap station gets built. So this is where I think is the bigger picture. And NIO themselves, of course, it's a more exclusive premium brand, and the CEO wants to keep it that way. So it's always going to be a premium brand, okay? And it's not going to be mass market. The Alps brand, yes, it will be mass market, and it will also be able to battery swap as well, but it's not going to be quite at the level of a NIO, okay? It's more about monopolizing the entire battery swap concept, essentially become the standard, or work towards being the standard and part of the standard, and having the patents so that when battery swap gets standardized, Neo is a big chunk of that. And guys, look, there's going to be many more partnerships down the line. They're all coming. There's going to be many more that will be coming in the future as well. Don't worry too much about that.